Hey, spirit warriors, have you ever felt like you're speaking a language no one understands? Like your heart beats to a different rhythm and you're constantly trying to explain yourself to a world that just doesn't get it? You're a chosen one, and your greatest power isn't in convincing them, it's in letting them misunderstand you. What if I told you that the very thing you've been fighting against, being misunderstood, is actually your most potent spiritual weapon? I remember a time when I was so desperate for validation. I was so busy trying to paint a perfect picture of who I was, trying to make sure everyone saw my pure intentions and my spiritual path. It felt like I was constantly on trial, presenting evidence for my very existence. I'd get into these long, exhausting conversations, trying to justify my choices, my beliefs, and my lifestyle. I'd say things like, no, it's not a cult, it's a spiritual community, or no, I'm not lazy, I'm just listening to my inner guidance. It was draining, soul-crushing work. My energy was being poured into building a castle of approval, a fragile structure that could be torn down with a single whisper of doubt. I was literally giving away my power, one explanation at a time. The more I tried to make them see, the more I felt my light dimming, my purpose blurring. It felt like I was wearing a spiritual straitjacket, constantly worrying about how I appeared to others. I was so caught up in the drama of perception that I almost missed the point entirely. The universe wasn't asking me to be a spokesperson for my truth, it was asking me to live it. It was during a quiet moment of reflection, after another pointless argument, that the truth hit me like a ton of bricks. Or maybe like a gentle feather, because the truth is often much softer than we expect. I realized I was trying to force a square peg into a round hole. My path, my truth, and my purpose were never meant to be understood by everyone. They were meant to be lived by me. A profound shift happened. I stopped talking and started walking. I stopped explaining and started embodying. I realized that the people who were meant to walk with me wouldn't need a PowerPoint presentation. They would feel my energy. They would see my light. They would just know. So if you're a chosen one and you're tired of explaining, justifying, and defending, this video is your permission slip. Your invitation to stop fighting and start thriving. We're going to dive deep into a truth that might just set you free. This isn't just about ignoring the haters. It's about reclaiming your divine authority. By the end of this video, you'll see why the power of letting people misunderstand you is the ultimate spiritual flex. So grab a cup of something warm, get cozy, and let's get into it. You're not going to want to miss a single second of this, spirit warriors. Trust me, your soul will thank you for it. Point 1, the divine shield of misunderstanding. Let's start with a cosmic truth, spirit warriors. The moment you step into your purpose, something extraordinary happens in the unseen realm. You don't just find your path. You light a spiritual beacon that sends ripples through both the physical and spiritual dimensions. Suddenly, you become a magnet. On one side, those aligned with your frequency are drawn to you like iron filings to a magnet. They see your light, they feel your energy, and they recognize a piece of themselves in you. But on the other side, you also start attracting resistance. People who feel threatened by your authenticity, who are confused by your peace, or who simply can't stand that your happiness doesn't rely on their approval. This isn't some tragic twist of fate, it's divine design. This misunderstanding is not a bug in your life's code, it's a feature installed by the Creator himself. It's a cosmic filter to protect your energy, sharpen your discernment, and keep you focused on the mission. Think about it. When someone doesn't get you, they can't access your inner sanctuary. They can't drain you with their doubts, pull you into their drama, or lower your vibration with their insecurities. It's like God places a spiritual force field around you, shielding your mind and heart from unnecessary contamination. This isn't just poetic, it's a truth that aligns with psychology and quantum theory. Psychologists will tell you that healthy boundaries are vital to preserving mental health. In the spiritual world, those boundaries often take the form of divine misunderstanding, God allowing certain people to misinterpret your intentions so they won't come too close. And in quantum physics, the concept of vibration and frequency explains why people operating at different energetic levels can't truly connect unless they rise to match each other. Here's where many spirit warriors go wrong. They start poking holes in their own shield. How? By over-explaining, by trying to justify themselves to people committed to misunderstanding them. The more you explain, the more you lower your vibration to meet theirs, and the more vulnerable you become to their negativity. That's why Jesus' words hit so deeply. Do not give what is holy to dogs, nor cast your pearls before swine. Your pearls are your truths, your revelations, and your sacred journey. Handing them to people who aren't ready is like giving the blueprint to your treasure chest to someone who only came to steal from it. Not everyone is equipped to handle what you've been entrusted with. And here's the liberating truth. You don't have to make them understand. Your calling is not up for debate. Your purpose isn't a group project. The less you care about their approval, the stronger your shield becomes. The more you stand in your truth without seeking validation, the brighter your light shines, and the more it blinds those who refuse to open their eyes. History backs this up. Every revolutionary prophet and leader who walked in divine purpose faced misunderstanding. Look at Moses, who was criticized even by his own people. Look at Joan of Arc, who was ridiculed and condemned before she was honored. Look at Jesus, misunderstood and rejected by many, yet fulfilling the highest mission of all. Their misunderstanding didn't stop them. It protected their mission from being diluted by people who weren't ready. So, spirit warrior, the next time someone misreads your intentions, labels you as too much, or questions your path, take it as confirmation. Your shield is active. You are untouchable to the wrong energy. Keep your pearls sacred. Keep your frequency high, because misunderstanding isn't a curse. It's God's way of keeping the wolves outside while you do the work He called you to do inside. Point 2, reclaiming your time and energy. Spirit warriors, let's be real. Trying to convince someone who's already decided not to understand you is like trying to teach a fish how to climb a tree. You can exhaust yourself, wave charts and facts in their face, and throw in a TED talk and a moonlit poetry reading for good measure. And they'll still walk away thinking exactly what they thought before. Why? Because most people don't listen to understand. They listen to confirm what they already believe. Psychology calls this confirmation bias, our tendency to favor information that supports what we already think and dismiss anything that doesn't fit. You can't outshout someone's mental walls. You could be holding a golden key of truth, but if their mind is locked from the inside, they won't even look at it. Now here's where it gets powerful. Every second you spend in that dead-end tug-of-war is a second stolen from your purpose. Imagine your life force as a battery, a divine, sacred, limited battery, and every argument with a brick wall of a person drains it like leaving Netflix running all night. What if instead you took that same energy and poured it into your craft, your prayer life, your physical health, or building that vision God placed in your spirit? Think about it. Leonardo da Vinci didn't stop painting the Mona Lisa to argue with critics about whether she should smile more. He stayed on mission. That's what spirit warriors do. And here's the thing. The moment you say, you know what? You're allowed to think whatever you want, is the moment you reclaim your power. It's like finding a hidden stash of energy you didn't even know you had. That mental and emotional freedom, priceless. Studies have shown that letting go of trying to control other people's perceptions can reduce stress hormones, improve sleep, and boost creativity. Why? Because your mind is no longer in constant defense mode. It's free to create, to dream, to breathe. You are not here to be a debate champion for the spiritually blind. You're here to live as a warrior of light, someone who moves mountains not by shouting at them, but by climbing them with purpose. When you stop trying to drag people up the mountain who don't even want to lace their boots, you move faster, higher, and stronger. You stop wasting precious time proving yourself and start being yourself, fully, unapologetically, and in alignment with your calling. Let them think what they want, spirit warriors. Let them whisper, let them doubt, let them roll their eyes. That's fine. You've got bigger fish to fry, or more accurately, bigger spiritual battles to win. You've got an empire to build, a soul to nurture, and a mission to fulfill. Every second spent defending your light to someone committed to living in the dark is a second you could be shining it for those who are actually looking for it. So here's the challenge. The next time someone tries to bait you into proving your worth, smile. Bless them in your heart. Then turn back to your path and keep building. Because your time, your energy, and your mission, they're too valuable to be squandered in the arena of petty debates. Your destiny is calling, and it's far louder than their opinion. Point 3, the freedom to be your authentic self. When you finally release the need for external validation, you break one of the deepest chains that's been holding humanity back for centuries. Think about it. Since childhood, most of us are conditioned to seek approval. We're graded in school, praised for behaving a certain way, or scolded for stepping out of line. Social media has only turned that conditioning into a 24/7 performance stage, where likes, comments, and followers become the new gold stars. But here's the truth spirit warriors know. The constant hunger for other people's approval is a spiritual starvation that can never be satisfied. No matter how much validation you collect, it evaporates the moment someone disapproves, leaving you scrambling for the next fix. When you release that need, it's like stepping out of a crowded theater where you've been performing your whole life, sweating under the spotlight, afraid to miss a line. Suddenly, you're in the fresh air, under the open sky, realizing you don't have to put on a show anymore. You're not adjusting your script to get applause. You're speaking from your soul, and that's where the real magic begins. You start wearing the clothes that make your spirit feel alive, not the ones that will get the most compliments. You say the words that are on your heart, even if they're not on brand. You follow the path God put before you, even if it confuses or offends those who can't see your vision. And here's the part most people underestimate. Authenticity is magnetic. On a spiritual level, it's a frequency shift. Energy doesn't lie. When you're real, people can feel it. Your energy vibrates at a different wavelength. You become a lighthouse, not because you're trying to shine, but because you simply refuse to dim. Those who are lost and wandering in the storms of people-pleasing and self-doubt will catch a glimpse of your light and instinctively move toward it. That's why your authenticity is not selfish. It's a service. But there's a reason many avoid this path. It's costly. Living authentically means some people will walk away. It means breaking free from the herd, and the herd will always try to pull you back. Spirit warriors know that the crowd rarely understands the mission of the chosen. Jesus didn't fit into the religious mold of his day. The prophets, the visionaries, and the truth-tellers, they all defied the expectations of the masses. And yet, history remembers them because they followed God's call, not public opinion. Here's the beautiful twist. Once you stop chasing external validation, the right kind of validation begins to find you. It won't come in the form of mass approval, but in divine confirmation. Doors opening that no man can shut, opportunities aligning at the right moment, and the quiet, steady voice of God reminding you that you are exactly where you need to be. That kind of affirmation doesn't expire when someone disapproves of you. It's anchored in eternity. Your authenticity isn't just a personal trait, it's a weapon. In a world obsessed with illusions, being unapologetically yourself is an act of spiritual warfare. Every time you choose truth over image, you weaken the grip of fear on your life. Every time you stand firm in who God made you to be, you dismantle the systems that profit from insecurity and conformity. That's why the enemy will always try to lure you back into seeking human applause, because he knows an authentic, God-led spirit warrior is unstoppable. So stop editing yourself for an audience that was never meant to define you. Your life is not a popularity contest. It's a divine assignment. And when you walk in that truth, unapologetically, you don't just free yourself, you become the living proof that others can too. And that, spirit warrior, is the kind of light no darkness can extinguish. Point 4, the alchemical power of silence. Silence, spirit warriors, is not just the absence of words, it's the sharpening of your sword. While the world rushes to fill every second with noise, chatter, and empty explanations, you stand in the rare territory of stillness. You are not in a hurry to convince anyone who you are because you already know. That's a spiritual posture most people never reach. You understand that your worth is not in how loudly you can defend yourself, but in how deeply you can stand in your truth without flinching. The Bible says in Proverbs 17:28, even a fool is thought wise if he keeps silent, and discerning if he holds his tongue. This isn't weakness, it's divine strategy. When you are silent, you are not surrendering the battle. You are controlling the battlefield. The enemy thrives on reaction, on baiting you into speaking before you're ready, into explaining when you don't owe anyone an explanation. But spirit warriors, you know the ancient law of war. The quiet general sees more than the soldier who's shouting. You stand back. You observe patterns. You note the subtleties others overlook. And when you move with precision. There's another layer here. Silence is faith in motion. When you refuse to defend yourself against every rumor, every misunderstanding, or every false judgment, you are essentially saying, "My Father in heaven is my vindicator. My story is in his hands." This is the opposite of insecurity. It's ultimate security, the kind only a chosen one walking in their calling can carry. Look at Jesus before Pilate. He could have argued. He could have dismantled every accusation with truth. But he stood silent, fulfilling prophecy and proving that silence can be a weapon sharper than any tongue. Science even backs this up. Neurological studies show that when you remain silent and composed during conflict, your brain stays in a higher state of cognitive control. Instead of being hijacked by your amygdala, that primal fight or flight trigger, you engage your prefrontal cortex, the seat of wisdom and discernment. This is why your responses, when you finally choose to speak, land with weight. You're not just reacting, you're delivering truth from a place of clarity and power. In a world addicted to instant reactions, your silence makes you unpredictable. And unpredictability, spirit warrior, is power. People can prepare for arguments, they can prepare for debates, but they cannot prepare for the unnerving quiet of someone who is not moved by their noise. That quiet forces them to fill the space with their own insecurities, their own over-explanations, and their own nervousness. In the end, you've said nothing, but you've already won. Silence also builds intimacy with God. When you step away from the world's clamor, you enter the secret place where the whispers of the Holy Spirit become clear. Psalm 46:10 tells us, "Be still and know that I am God." This is not just poetic, it's instructional. Stillness is where revelation lives. Stillness is where you hear divine strategies the world is too distracted to catch. And when God speaks in that stillness, his words equip you in ways public arguments never could. So spirit warriors, hold that silence like a weapon, not a passive weapon, but a purposeful one. Let the world talk, let them guess, let them assume. You're not here to prove your value. You're here to live it. You're not here to broadcast your purpose. You're here to fulfill it. And when you do speak, your words will cut through the noise like a sword of truth, because they will be rooted in observation, guided by faith, and delivered with the authority of someone who has been listening to the voice of God in the quiet. Your silence is not emptiness. It's the throne room where strategies are written, where strength is renewed, and where victory begins long before the battle even starts. Guard it, honor it, and when the time comes, let your silence speak louder than their noise. Point 5, trusting the process and your intuition. Let's be real, spirit warriors. Most of the time when we crave for people to get us, it's not because they're incapable of understanding, but because deep down, we haven't fully anchored ourselves in self-trust. That hunger for validation often comes from a subtle but persistent insecurity, a quiet voice inside that still seeks permission to step into the life God has already designed for us. In psychological terms, this is tied to what researchers call when your sense of worth or direction is shaped by other people's opinions rather than your own convictions. But here's where it gets interesting. When you're a chosen one, you're not meant to navigate by the world's compass. Your entire operating system is different. Your intuition isn't just a random gut reaction, it's your spiritual GPS, hardwired by the Creator himself. This guidance doesn't work on satellite signals or data coverage. It runs on divine connection, that still small voice from 1 Kings 19:12 that cuts through chaos and says this way, even when logic, trends, or popular vote points somewhere else entirely. And here's the truth, like any navigational tool, your spiritual compass grows more accurate the more you use it. But it grows dull when you constantly override it in favor of other people's directions. God's map for your life is not public property. It's not in your relative's group chat. It's not featured in your friend's Instagram story highlights. It wasn't leaked in some cosmic spoiler alert. It was delivered directly to you, tailored to your purpose, your season, and your journey. That's why it often won't make sense to anyone else. And it's not supposed to. This is why Scripture repeatedly emphasizes walking by faith, not by sight. 2 Corinthians 5:7. When you release the need for others to validate your path, you're essentially sending heaven a bold signal. I trust the route you've given me, even if the road ahead is foggy. That's not arrogance, it's alignment. You're stepping into spiritual maturity where your confidence isn't rooted in applause but in assurance. You're affirming your God-given authority, and in doing so, you're declaring that fear, doubt, and second-guessing have no seat at your table. Faith contrary to popular belief, isn't just an emotion. It's a spiritual muscle, and like every muscle, it strengthens through consistent use. Every time you choose the direction, your spirit confirms over the one the crowd suggests. You're doing a spiritual workout. Every time you take a step without needing a panel of opinions, your faith gains weight-lifting capacity. And every time you resist the urge to over-explain your calling to people who can't hear what God told you in private, you're moving from the shallow waters of approval-seeking into the deep waters of obedience. This is the training ground of a spirit warrior, not moving in silence because you're hiding, but because you are so secure in divine direction that you don't need applause, likes, or endorsements to keep going. The paradox is fascinating. The moment you stop chasing validation, you become more magnetic. Your energy changes. People start to notice something different in you, a groundedness, a peace that isn't easily rattled, a clarity that's hard to fake. They might not understand your path, but they can't deny your presence. What they're sensing is not just confidence in your own abilities. It's confidence in the one who sent you. Theologians would call this a deep, holistic peace that comes from being aligned with God's will. While the world runs on the fumes of fear, anxiety, and constant comparison, your fuel source is faith, trust, and divine assignment. And faith, unlike fear, doesn't burn out. It burns brighter the more it's used. History is full of examples of people who lived this way. Noah built an ark on dry land while everyone thought he was insane. Abraham left his homeland without knowing his destination. Mary said yes to carrying the Messiah, knowing the gossip and judgment she'd face. None of them had public approval. All of them had divine instruction. And because they followed it, history remembers them as people of destiny, not conformity. The same is true for you. When you trust your spiritual GPS, you're not just making personal progress, you're stepping into a ripple effect that can impact generations. And here's the final truth. Spirit warriors, the life God calls you to will rarely look logical in the moment. The routes will sometimes seem longer, the paths steeper, and the turns sharper than you'd expect. But they are always purposeful. When you stop demanding that others validate your journey, you free yourself from detours created by their fears, biases, or limited vision. You begin to walk lighter, move faster, and hear God clearer. And when people do start asking how you're doing it, how you keep moving without the world's approval, you'll know the answer. It's not me. It's the one guiding me. That's the kind of confidence that can't be faked, shaken, or stolen. That's the power of a spirit warrior fully aligned with heaven's map. And that, more than anything, is why your path doesn't need to be understood. It only needs to be obeyed. Point 6, a catalyst for spiritual growth. Spirit warriors, let me tell you something powerful. Being misunderstood is not just some annoying byproduct of walking your unique path. It's part of the training, the forge, the holy refining fire. Think about it. Gold isn't valuable because it's pretty when it's pulled out of the ground. Raw gold is dull, covered in dirt, and mixed with other minerals. It has to be smelted in extreme heat, separated from impurities, and shaped before it shines. That's you. Every misunderstanding is another round in the furnace, another opportunity for your spiritual metal to be purified. When someone twists your words, questions your intentions, or assumes the worst about you, and you choose silence over retaliation, that's not weakness. That's discipline. That's proof you're operating from a higher plane. Misunderstanding is also one of God's most underestimated tools for building spiritual resilience. Why? Because when you can't rely on people getting you, you're forced to lean entirely on God. That means you stop living for applause and start living for purpose. You shift from performing for approval to standing firm in your divine assignment. History is full of spirit warriors who walked this exact road. Jesus himself was constantly misunderstood, even by his closest followers. The prophets were mocked. The apostles were dismissed. The saints were labeled strange, dangerous, or foolish. Yet their inability to be fully understood by the world was proof that they were operating from a reality beyond it. And here's the part most people miss. Misunderstanding actually expands your capacity for spiritual depth. It's like spiritual weight training. At first it stings when people get you wrong. You want to defend yourself, set the record straight, and prove your worth. But over time, you develop a spiritual stillness. You realize you don't need to clap back because God sees. You don't need to broadcast your innocence, because truth always rises, sometimes slowly, but always surely. You discover that the people who are meant to understand you will, and the ones who don't, well, they're simply not your audience. Every time you resist the urge to fight for your image, you're building humility. Every time you refuse to water down your truth to fit in, you're growing in courage. Every time you choose patience over pettiness, you're proving your faith is anchored, not in human opinion, but in God's unshakable love. This is why misunderstanding is secretly a blessing. It's pruning away your ego so your spirit can bear more fruit. So, Spirit Warrior, next time someone misreads your silence, questions your motives, or spreads a version of you that isn't true, don't see it as a personal attack to survive. See it as a divine test to master. You are being sculpted into the person God designed you to be, unoffendable, steady, and untouchable by gossip or small-mindedness. You are becoming gold, refined and gleaming, not because people applauded you, but because you stood firm when they didn't. The misunderstanding is not the end. It's the sharpening of your blade. And when the time comes, God will reveal the truth about you so brightly that no lie will be able to stand in its presence. Until then, keep walking, keep shining, keep passing the test with flying colors. The forge may be hot, but Spirit Warrior, you're coming out unbreakable. Point 7, the ultimate takeaway. Your purpose is your proof. Spirit Warriors, let's lock in for a moment, because this is where your training meets your truth. You don't need to chase applause, defend your worth, or flash credentials to justify why you're here. You were not sent to earth to convince people that you carry light. You were sent to be the light. The very fact that you woke up today, still walking your path despite every storm, is already proof enough. Think about it. Trees don't announce, "I'm a tree." They simply grow, bear fruit, and give shade, and those who need them find them. That's the energy you're stepping into. Your purpose, when lived authentically, will naturally become the evidence of who you are. The world is loud right now, people shouting their achievements, broadcasting their lifestyles, desperate to be seen. But the Spirit Warrior understands something different. The most potent power is often silent. It's the monk, meditating in the mountains, the healer tending to the sick in secret, and the leader who works behind the scenes while others take the credit. These are the ones shaping destinies without a press release. Why? Because they know their mission isn't validated by human opinion. It's anchored in divine assignment. Here's the thing. The right people will feel you before they even fully understand you. Your words, your presence, your work, it will resonate with the ones meant to receive it. And the wrong people? They'll overlook you until your fruits are undeniable. And by then it won't matter whether they believe you or not, because your impact will already be rippling across lives you may never even meet. This is why Spirit Warriors don't waste time in petty battles or defending themselves against gossip, lies, or doubt. Energy is currency, and you're too wealthy in spirit to spend it on the cheap arguments of the insecure. You invest your energy in the work no one sees, the prayers, the preparation, the discipline, and the moments when you could quit, but don't. That's where the real power lives, in what you do when the cameras are off, when there's no applause, when it's just you and God. So walk with quiet authority. Let your life be the sermon. Let your consistency outshine the noise. Your path is sacred, and the proof of your calling isn't in the volume of your voice. It's in the vibration of your actions. Keep walking, Spirit Warrior. Your legacy is already speaking. Chosen ones, I want you to walk away from this video with a renewed perspective on life. The truth is, being misunderstood is often the clearest sign that you are walking a path few dare to tread. History shows us that the most transformative figures, from prophets to visionaries, were often ridiculed, doubted, or ignored in their own time. Even Albert Einstein once said, "Great spirits have always encountered violent opposition from mediocre minds." So the next time someone misinterprets your intentions or underestimates your vision, take a deep breath and smile. This isn't a setback. It's confirmation that you're operating on a frequency they have yet to tune into. You are exactly where you need to be because divine timing is never rushed. You are protected, not just in the physical sense, but spiritually, surrounded by a force that sees beyond what you can see. You are powerful, not because of dominance, but because of your resilience, your clarity, and your connection to higher truth. You are free, not in the absence of challenges, but in the ability to rise above them without losing yourself. The world might not understand your calling today, but it will in its own time. Your task is not to slow down so others can keep up, but to keep living your truth unapologetically until the world is ready to meet you there. So, spirit warriors, step boldly into your purpose. Let your actions speak louder than explanations, and watch as those who once doubted you eventually recognize the light you carry. Now go, live your truth, and let the universe do the rest. See you next time, and remember, this journey is about awakening, and you're already ahead of the curve.